Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about cooking, music, and we have part one of our interview with Emmanuel Asuquo.
Good afternoon, evening, morning, everybody. Welcome to an episode of the Kindness Project. It's our first live, well, not live-ish. I mean, we don't like sort of send them out live like we did in the old days, but live-ish episode of 2023 after all the sort of best of 2022 ones that Russ very kindly sorted out for us and all that sort of stuff. We are back. Hello, Charlotte and Russ. How are we doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
And I'm doing very well, thank you.
Russ is a happy man today. He's been.
I'm feeling a bit more myself now. When we first come back to work at the beginning of the week, I was a bit lackluster, but I feel.
Yeah, we had a weird week, Russ, didn't we? With work, where I was asking you questions and you were giving me these random sort of answers that didn't make any sense.
I just couldn't focus, but I'm sort of laser sighted now.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that, to be honest.
Russ was still in Christmas mode.
Yeah, Russ was in Christmas mode.
Well,
the problem is that Christmas was 1987.
It all started
Don't
when
be having a go at Christmas, Russell, just because he likes to have a break. Jesus.
I'm not saying it.
This is what the trouble is. I don't usually take a break, and because I did, I couldn't get back into it.
Yeah.
No, you know what? We're all. I think everybody was like that. That week coming back is always a bit sort of weird. That's why I was really confused, Russ, about my first meeting that you booked, which was 9 o'clock on the day we came back. What was that all about?
There was a reason for that.
Go on.
The ad available was 9 o'clock January on that day, or a Friday.
I'd assume that January the 3rd at 9 o'clock isn't available as standard, though, right?
But you don't work on a Friday, so
true. So all right, I'll let you off that one. How was your Christmas, Russ, for the benefit of our podcast listeners?
I got back into a lot of things I haven't been doing because I've been too wrapped up in other stuff.
Okay.
Cooking. I really enjoy cooking at Christmas, particularly. I always do Christmas dinner and stuff, but yeah, I've got back into more of a cycle of taking more time for myself. Like in the evenings, I'm doing a bit of the cooking. As you know, Kelly does most of the cooking, but I'm doing a bit more of that. Walking the dog.
Yeah, cooking. Did you mention cooking, Russ?
No.
Did you mention cooking topless with Russ?
No cooking.
Are you wearing clothes while you're cooking, Russ? Or is it?
I'm wearing clothes while I'm cooking, yeah.
Do you wear a hat, though? Do you wear a hat?
Nobody likes to get their nipples stung by a bit of stray oil or something.
Too much information, Russ. What? Nobody likes to get their nipples stung by a bit of stray oil. You sound like a man who's talking from experience, is that?
Yeah, I've had that experience.
No, you haven't. And Charlotte's joined us, and she seems to be still wearing a hat. So Russ doesn't wear a hat because if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you'll know that Russ has got a hot head. But Charlotte's clearly got a cold head because she's wearing her hat indoors.
When have you seen me without this hat in the past?
I haven't. You over Christmas. You seem to be constantly wearing a hat.
There was one time, I think it was October.
Yeah.
When Mum called me and I just got out of the shower and I was in nothing but my dressing gown and a beanie.
So the beanie is a constant.
Yeah, it's a staple of any outfit.
Accompaniment to the ensemble. I've got to tell you though, Charlotte, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but Mum's thrown your beige hat out.
Yeah, no, I told her she could.
Oh right, okay, all right.
Trying to be a snitch.
I thought I thought I was telling tales out of school there. She did ask, did she?
Yeah, she messaged me yesterday and said, "What should we do with this?" And I said, "Just get rid of it." And she was like, "Wise move."
That's because she'd already thrown it away.
You can't know that.
That is a proper grassing up, that is.
I know. What's he think he's trying to do, eh?
That's because she'd already thrown it away. I think she told me about 4 or 5 days ago she chucked it away. She
4 or
must
5
have
days
just
ago, as in before I left, when I last saw it.
yeah. Yeah,
No,
it was gone. It was gone before
literally
then.
as you walked out the door, she was down at the bin.
Exactly. She burnt it in a ceremony at the back garden.
Well,
And we
considering
all-
we'd already discussed the possibility of it being thrown away, I'd considered it a write-off as soon as I left that house without it.
Sorry, and have you still got half my clothes? Did you take any clothes with you before you left or not?
I think I'd accidentally taken one of Soph's hoodies.
Right.
And that's
Okay.
it.
So not only are you stealing my clothes, you're now stealing your baby sister's clothes. Is that right?
Well, it wasn't intentional.
Really?
It wasn't.
Is that the same as the tracksuit bottoms you've owned now for about 5 years of mine?
I mean, the ones I'm wearing.
The ones you're wearing right now, the ones you never take off.
I've got a teeth and a grass, and I'm the only good boy here.
Perth, naked cooker. We are not renaming the podcast about highlighting good things in the world and making sure we tell good stories, the teeth, the grass, and the perth. All right, we're not doing it. No matter the lobbying, we're not doing it. The other thing I want to talk about today is I've booked a holiday.
Oh, Christ, all right.
I'm going on a cruise.
Right.
We are cruising around the Norwegian fields.
Oh, nice.
Is that the right way to say it, Charlotte?
Don't know.
Yeah, that's the right way to say it. I just
fields. But the problem is, right,
SJRD. I never hear it said that way because it's the name of a character in a show I like, and they just
well, this is the other thing, Russ.
just call him
Apparently,
Paul.
everything I'm saying at the minute, I'm mispronouncing. Say the word for a mug made of metal that you drink beer out of.
Right.
Starts with a T.
A tanker.
A tanker.
Tankard.
Tankard.
Yeah,
No,
tankard.
tankard.
Sorry, it's a tankard.
No, it's not.
I don't think it is. I think I'm getting it wrong. But it's just really entertaining to wind Charlotte up. Every time we talk about it, I use the word tankard. Like that's the way we pronounce it. But how'd you do it, Charlotte?
Maybe if you lived in Chelsea, it'd be a tankard.
Sorry?
Maybe if you lived in Chelsea, it'd be a tankard.
Why would it be a tankard if I lived in Chelsea?
That's got to be the posh way of saying it, isn't it?
What, tankard?
Yeah, tankard.
Maybe.
It's a tankard.
And how are you saying it, Charlotte?
It's tankard.
That's what I said, tankard.
No.
That's what I thought it was, a tankard. But now you made me second guess myself.
No, I think you two are right, to be honest. So 2 questions of the podcast today. Not that anybody ever answers our question to the podcast anymore, but please answer if you're listening our question to the podcast. 2 questions of the podcast today. Number 1, what's the word you mispronounce the most? And because of my cruise situation at the minute, I'm spending quite a lot of time researching cruises on YouTube. So question number 2, clearly, is what's your current YouTube obsession? So who wants to start with either of those questions?
Oh. Well, sorry, what was the first question? YouTube obsession. So clear my mind to what I watch on YouTube now. So
Right.
I'll start there.
Go on in.
I watch 3 things on YouTube.
Yeah,
I do a lot of research on YouTube for new technological stuff.
right.
I watch FM videos, rebuilds, and content.
For our audience who doesn't know what FM is,
Oh
that
yeah,
stands for
Football Manager,
Football Manager, right?
which is a computer game.
Right.
And I watch a lot of the music. Now, if I'm in a musical mode, like sit there and listen to some music, I go down a rabbit hole. I pick one song, and then it shows you loads of other. It recommends loads of others like it.
Gotcha. Go on. So tell me about a music rabbit hole you went down recently.
I went down Viking. What's it? Viking chants. Valhalla calling. My mother told me.
Viking, you went down a Viking. That is niche, Russ. Viking chant YouTube.
When I need to sort of pump up my mood, they're really good for getting you in a good mood.
Russ the Viking. I can imagine him as a Viking, Charlotte, can't you?
And what about your mispronounced word, Russ?
My tankard. Mispronounced. I bought one recently after I see you wearing one. And Chris says a gilet.
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 Gilet. Is that? I'm glad you bought yourself a gilet, Russ.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Oh, you know what, Charlotte? I know we keep on talking on the podcast about Russ's cooking show. It shouldn't be Topless Cooking with Russ. It should be gilet cooking with Russ.
It reminds me of a life vest. You know,
it is a bit. But they are cosy, aren't they? But they give your arms the freedom to wiggle about. So all good.
I've upgraded a lot of my tops now because I was still wearing tops from the 1990s. Jumpers, But
you were either wearing jumpers from 1990 or jumpers that used to be owned by your dad. Now, as fashion choices go, Russ.
Well, a whole player. So I wear jumpers from my dad, but Charlotte obviously wears jumpers from all over.
No, she wears trousers from her dad. I don't know what's going on with that. What's your mispronounced word then, Charlotte?
It's not mispronounced. But I did discover about a year ago that I, for all of my life before then, had been spelling the word pigeon wrong.
Spelling it wrong or saying it wrong?
Spelling it wrong.
How are you spelling pigeon?
There was a D in there before the G.
Yeah, pigeon is one of those ones that's a bit strange, isn't it? Spell. So I'll let you have that one. How about your YouTube rabbit hole beyond the obvious? I don't want D&D, and I don't want something our audience already knows. What's your unusual YouTube rabbit hole?
I don't really have one, improv comedy sketches, improv musicals.
So whose line is it anyway, style stuff?
Yeah, a little bit.
I remember when you got obsessed with whose line is it anyway.
Just because it's funny. But then,
it is funny.
The same ones circulate, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm done with this now.
And what's your favourite whose line is it anyway sketch?
I don't know.
Do you remember whose line is it anyway, Russ?
I didn't watch it.
Right, so whose line is it anyway? Again, same as your t-shirts. It was a joke from the 90s, right? It was this show where basically they threw up. They had an audience and they threw up ideas, and they had to then improvise a comedy sketch.
Oh, I've said it. Sorry, I've said it.
Let's do it now, right? Charlotte, you are an Italian policeman who's arresting Russell, who is a Spanish super criminal.
I thought I was going to be I thought I was gonna be a swinging football hooligan then.
No. Spanish super criminal who's built a laser to take over the world. Go.
Oh.
I can't do the accent.
No, you got to try the accent at least.
I
What
can't
accent
even
did I give
picture
you?
the accent.
What accent did I give you?
Italian?
Go on.
What's the Italian accent sound like?
I would have preferred Italian to be
All right,
honest.
you do Italian. What do you want? What accent do you want?
I can't do accents, Dad.
All right, okay, all right. So let's say a London-based policeman who's
Right.
trying to track down an Italian super criminal. Go.
So I've spotted him then? Is he here? Is he?
What? What do you? Right, you've spotted him. You spotted him. He's coming in. He was doing his shopping in Tesco's, and you've
Right.
gone, oh, there's his super, and he's just in the process of picking up a chicken. Go.
Stop!
Mamma mia!
No! Stop!
Mamma mia!
Are you gonna stop?
Me not stopping!
You are stopping.
Go away from me!
No!
I mean,
Mamma
what you
mia!
can't see, podcast listeners, is the gesticulation. I mean, the accent is something else, but the gesticulation just adds.
React.
It's the same arm move every single time. It's just like that. Oh, I mean, can we have a bit more enthusiasm from you, Charlotte? Because Russ is bringing his best to the table. Right. So we know the scenario now. Italian super criminal, enthusiastic London detective.
Right, okay.
And the scenario is Russ is in
Can I be Chinese?
No, definitely
I
not.
would have thought super criminal that's building the laser are more likely to be from China than Italian.
That's racist, Russ, and I won't accept it.
They're just more technologically advanced than us.
Oh gosh, this is gonna be a nightmare.
You're not the one who started it.
Right.
You're the one who started it.
Okay, you choose your own accents, but the scenario is, and if you want to go, Norfolk could be good. Norwich,
Okay.
right? Norwich. What?
All right, let's do Norwich.
Norwich, right? Okay, fine. So you're a policeman, Charlotte. Russ is a super criminal with a space laser. You see him getting his key cut in Timpson's, and you're buying a set of shoelaces, and you want to apprehend him for his space laser. Go.
Oi, what are you doing here?
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
No, you can't just you can't just say one thing all the time.
All right.
Like Mamma Mia and Beautiful. You're not committing to the role. Or what you doing here? You wouldn't say Beautiful after that, would you?
It is beautiful.
Oh right, okay.
Smile.
Right, sorry, I'm going to step out again. Start again.
All right.
Oi, what are you doing here?
Running away from you.
That's fair enough. Can't let you do it though.
Please don't chase me.
I'm not good at running.
Beautiful.
Maybe improv, we should leave. Maybe improv, we should leave. And move on to a little bit of.
Kindness news.
So, beautiful. So, I mean, let's just ignore the fact that Charlotte would make the worst policeman ever. I'm not going to run after you. I'm not that good at running. It's probably a response that you shouldn't have when you're a policeman. On that note, I want to talk about a part of the world that, weirdly, I'm a bit obsessed with at the minute. Wrexham in Wales, and the reason being, if you haven't seen it, there's an amazing documentary about Ryan Reynolds and Rob and this is something I can't pronounce. I think it's McCannahay buying Wrexham Football Club, but and it. What's great about the show? It's on Disney Plus, called This Is Wrexham. Is it not only showcases the club and Ryan and Rob getting involved and sort of helping hopefully to develop the club, but it also showcases the town, both the good bits and bad bits. And one of the things that I didn't realise is Wrexham's also a kind place, because a man's been handing out £400 to strangers in a festive act of kindness. A man praised his random acts of festive kindness and revealed that he helped 5 families and gave away £400 of his own money. Last week, the leader's newspaper reported that a young mum was left speechless after being handed an envelope in Smythes which contained a card inside of which £80 in cash and a heartfelt message. The kind stranger has now come forward to reveal why he did it and what he did. Wishing to only go by his first name, Michael said, "The cost of living crisis is tough on everyone. I remember seeing a report on the news about a mother who was struggling with her energy bills, feeding her children and preparing for Christmas. I was not always fortunate and never had many joys as a child. So this report struck a chord with me. I decided to use £400 of my own money to help 5 families in my own small way. The logical place to find them was in a toy shop, Smith's. The 50-year-old from Wrexham continued, I'm not a rich person. I work in a factory and paid by the hour, but I work hard and I'm grateful for what I have. My only regret about giving this money away is that my handwriting looks awful, but there is a reason for that. I sat in Costa writing out the cards, and a refugee lady and her daughter sat across from me. The lady had bags of Christmas shopping, and her daughter was sitting with her hands around a warm drink. I remember the girls' frizzy hair. They were going to be the first to get a card. So I wrote the cards out, hurriedly prepared theirs, hoping to finish before I left. I handed the card to the mother and said, Merry Christmas. And Rosie Walkin, one of the people who handed the card, said she didn't have the chance to thank him by the time he'd left. What an amazing thing to do, particularly during the Christmas period. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? That generosity just to 5 families will make a difference to their lives. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. The fact that he rushed to do it as well is real sweet.
100%.
I think supporting other people is a good way to feel good about yourself as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's an amazing thing to do, but to have that, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? We try and do donate to charities and do other work, but that direct impact kindness, where you just say to somebody, "Here's the money, change, make your Christmas a little bit easier," has a decent chunk of impact. Next one is this is from we should have said that this is clearly regional edition, because we've got one from Wales and one from Scotland. Fort Farm Tesco's customers praised for generosity. Fort Farm in Scotland. Fort Farm Tesco customers have been thanked for their generosity to the company's annual local charity food bank appeal, despite pressures on cost of living. The Tesco's have said that despite increased pressures on everyone, shoppers have been their most generous ever. And I'm pretty sure, guys, that this won't only be restricted to Fort Farm Tesco's, right? We I'll tell you a little bit more about the story in a minute, but I every year I get involved in a Christmas sleigh around my part of the Essex East London borders, around the Hornchurch and that sort of stuff. And yes, there is a cost of living crisis, and a lot of people find it hard. But my experience is that the people who are doing okay were as generous as ever. So it's an amazing thing. Going back to the story, Tesco's has said that despite increases in their most generous ever in support of the appeal.
Just hold on, you're going to have to re-record the first bit again. You froze and it totally cut out the audio.
Okay, right from the start, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next story I've got is one about a Tesco's in Scotland in Forfar, and the customers have been praised for their generosity. Tesco's has said that despite increased pressures on everyone, shoppers have been their most generous ever in support of the appeal. Customers donated more than 2.4 million meals during the Tesco food collection at the beginning of December, with 3,581 of these meals donated from shoppers in Forfar. So through the collections that Tesco's do in their stores, 2.4 million meals have been created. That's an incredible scale. The total amount of food donated by Tesco shoppers to the Trussell Trust and Fair Share during the year was equivalent to 12.5 million meals. Now, I'm of a mixed perception on this. I rather blinkedly, where food banks don't need to exist. And that might be naive of me to say. What do you guys think?
I think they serve a purpose. A definite purpose.
Well, certainly in my naive perspective, I'd like to make sure that people were looked after enough they didn't have to worry about paying for food. But because we're not in that situation, clearly they do serve a purpose. And what it does show is people are super generous to help out when they need to. The donations to the Trussell Trust help food banks provide emergency food parcels to people in crisis, while donations to Fair Share support thousands of frontline local charities and communities across the country. Tesco's have also topped up all customer donations during the collection by 20% in cash. Jason Terry, Tesco UK Northern Ireland CEO, attributed the rise in donations up 33% to the food collection alone, to both the incredible generosity of customers and the supermarket making it easier for them to donate. I firmly believe that when times are tough, actually people who can afford to do help out. And we're seeing that at Tesco's, but we're also seeing it in a lot of places. Yeah. What do you think, Charlotte?
Yeah, I definitely think people sort of will react in times of crisis, and usually in positive ways as well.
Yeah. Lindsay Boswell, Fair Share Chief Executive, said our charities have told us how difficult things have become, with many expecting to see a huge increase in need as the weather gets even colder. The support we have seen will help Fair Share to continue getting much needed food to the people who need it the most. And I absolutely love that. And Emma Trussell Trust Chief Executive said food banks across the UK are facing their hardest winter yet as they struggle to cope with the tsunami of need caused by the cost of living emergency. On a daily basis, food banks in our network are hearing from families up and down the country who are having to make impossible decisions about putting food on the table or turning on their eating. Certainly one that I'd struggle to make. So well done, Fair Share, Tesco's, Trussell Trust, and the amazing people who supported them to do that throughout the UK. On that note, let's get on to our interview. We've got part one of an interview with Emmanuel. Emmanuel's a lovely guy, does loads for charity. He's a fellow financial planner, who I've known for a number of years, but does a lot in communities supporting them with their financial education. So let's listen to the first part of Emmanuel's interview. Thank you, Eman, for coming on and talking to me today. How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been good, Chris. Been good. Can't complain. Obviously, we're on it's Christmas time. You know, everyone's happy, everyone's smiley. So yeah. So it's like people's attitudes change. It's almost like, you know, we've been crisis for the whole year, and then it's like, forget the crisis. I'm gonna enjoy myself.
Well, exactly. It's been an interesting year this year, hasn't it?
Yeah. It has. It's been really interesting. Like, you know, I think emotionally, I think just people didn't realize how much money dominates their life. I think we make financial decisions every day so like unconsciously that actually now when you can't do that anymore because you haven't got the money to, or you're thinking, do I pay this bill or I owe money here? A lot of people are in that position for the first time.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, you'd never wish or hope that somebody's in a position where they need to focus on it because they're worried, but actually, it will change a lot of people's perspectives about having better control, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, the funniest thing is that, and you probably do the same. We learn, being a financial advisor, you learn about inflation and the effects, and you read in the book and you talk about it. And it's one of the first things that I've been doing this 15 years, and you've been doing it longer than that. And it's one of the first things they teach you in financial advisor like language is one of the reasons you need to invest is because of inflation.
100%.
And we've been talking about this for years, and people have been looking at us like it's a mythical beast. Like we're just lying.
That's because inflation's been super low for the majority of our careers, right?
Exactly.
That's the interesting thing.
So everyone's been acting like, no, this guy we've made it up, like we've just created this thing. And now everywhere I go, all they talk about is inflation and the cost of living, and it's like we have been saying this for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I think a lot of people have been educated through this time. It's a shame that it's had to have this adversity for people to even listen or take notice. But actually, I think a lot of people will be better once they get out of this, going forward, and be able to also teach these things to their children and so forth because they've actually experienced it.
We had a really interesting guy on the podcast, and on the podcast we don't primarily talk about money. We talk about people doing good stuff in the world. But if there's somebody I feel is really adding value in terms of the education piece, I have them on. And there's a really good guy. He's based over in Asia. A guy called Will Rainey. I don't know if you've heard.
Yes, I know Will. I know Will. Got the children's book. Yeah.
So he's got the sort of the Money Fables book. Yeah. And interestingly, some of the explanations he uses in that are really compelling in terms of the using storytelling to explain how it works.
Exactly.
I'm optimistic, Amen, that we're going to get to a position where people will become more educated and learn over the longer term. And I'm thinking that all we need to do is keep on banging the drum about saying, look, and actually the reality is that most good quality financial planners want people to have happier, healthier lives using money as a tool. And that's the idea. For those in our audience who don't know about you, tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, so I guess what I do, I'm a financial advisor, qualified, have been for over 15 years. But in the last 5 years, I've gone on to do more social media. So I just got kind of fed up of just helping like really wealthy people get wealthier. And it just didn't motivate me. There's nothing wrong with it. Like sometimes I feel like financial advisors feel like I'm coming at them, attacking them because all the and it's I'm not coming at you, but it's just fulfillment. There's different things that fulfill us in life.
Purpose, right?
And purpose. And because of where I've come from in life, it just it felt like a false reality because I know people are suffering because my parents and my life, we suffered to get to where we are. And it just felt like I'm in this new world where everyone has money and everyone goes out to dinner and everyone doesn't look at the bill and just pays, and there's this money and there's just abundance. And it's like, actually, there are so many people struggling that don't believe this life exists. And it almost was like, for me, is like, actually, let me take my learning and my experience and actually teach people that actually there's another life out there that people are living, and you can live it too if you just make different decisions.
See, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. I think people who work in our world, and there's
Yeah.
not that many of us
Nah.
actually, but people who work in our world who have gone through that, working class experience, and
yeah.
so I was born. I think I might have told you before, but I was born in sort of Canning Town, so just
the
down the
corner,
road
yeah.
from where you are, and not a bad it's an interesting one. How did you feel growing up? Did you know that you were
No. Everyone was
interesting?
everybody was the same. So it's one of the
Yeah.
it was even embarrassing. I remember telling this story, like my dad got a pay rise at work, and he went like a grand over the free school meals amount. So I could no longer qualify for free school meals. And it
Gotcha.
was weird because everybody had, like, you used to get a different dinner ticket.
Yeah.
And everyone had the dinner ticket that, was for free. And when you start, anyone that had the dinner ticket that paid, it was almost like, oh, you're rich. Like, you don't
Yeah.
pay, you pay for your school dinners. And it
Yeah.
was like, that was the reality, that everybody was poor, so nobody really felt it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And to be honest, I think weirdly, when I think about growing up where I grew up, community was really important.
Exactly.
And I think what we bring to our world is that just fresh perspective. And I you know what I think it comes down to for me, gratitude. I'm
Yeah.
lucky that I've had the opportunities that I've had, built a
Yes.
business, have a really decent life. So what do
Yeah.
I need to do to give back a bit? And I think you're probably in the same boat in that regard. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That that goes on. So what else do we need to know about you to understand you?
Yeah, to understand me really, like what you were saying, I grew up in Tower Hamlets, so literally round the corner from, like I lived in Limehouse, so literally DLR, Canning Town is literally round the corner.
That's it.
And Hackney. I always say Tower Hamlets, Newham, and Hackney. Those three parts of East London, we kind of had the same life experience. It was very, very similar. And so
I couldn't see Canary Wharf from my house, though.
Exactly. So, exactly. And so could I. And so, like, my parents were both born in Nigeria. So I was the first person in my family to be born in the UK. I'm the oldest child, two younger sisters. Growing up in Limehouse, you share a postcode with Canary Wharf, so E14. So I literally shared so you can imagine living on a council estate in poverty, rats, rubbish everywhere, like just not a nice environment. And literally you look out the window and you see these buildings in Canary Wharf, some of the like £1 billion banks and some of the richest companies in the world. And it's like, you share a postcode, you have the same postcode with these, and it's just a different world. And so for me, like a big thing for me was looking at it and saying, I want to get over there because that's where I'm going to get to change my situation. My dad was an accountant, so he made me do finance. Like I couldn't do anything else. And then my mum, she used to work in schools, so she was a dinner lady. So, and the reason she did
my mum.
Yeah, the reason she did that was so she could be home. Because one of the big things is about kids being on the street, and we'll talk about that more with the charity. But one of the big things is that, I was lucky. What saved me was the fact, because I had to pick up my sisters from school, come home, and then my mum would come home. And it's like, I couldn't be on the streets hanging out. So I had a different life to a lot of my friends because my mum chose to be at home. Whereas a lot of other parents, and this is not a slight on them, because you got to do what you got to do where we come from. A lot of them took up second jobs. And so after their first job, they then go to which meant the kids, they wouldn't get home till, 8, 9 o'clock. And so the kids kind of had to fend for themselves. And a lot of the time that meant being on the street and getting up to the mischief and then, getting into gangs and so forth. So for me, I was saved by that. And so because of that, it was like, I had to focus, I had to achieve, I had to win. And Canary Wharf was my way out. And that's kind of became my focus. And that's, I guess, why I'm a financial advisor today.
Really interesting. So the serious point and then a slightly flippant point. Firstly, the serious point.
Yeah.
I lost my mum in 2019. Funny enough, I write that in the book. And she's the one where the value of empathy and kindness.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, man, because she was shocking with money. My dad was the financially prudent one and actually taught me a lot of the skills that I've got today to start me off. But one thing she was really kind. And actually, when looking back, I think you get different qualities from your mum and dad. Tell me a bit about that for you. Where do those qualities that you've got now come from?
I'm the same as you, and it's funny because I'm speaking to you and I see so much of you in me. like I feel like we come from similar backgrounds, you know, and we've had similar life experiences, and we're both financial advisors. And it's funny because sometimes in life we base so much on color and race, and we say people must be different because you're white, I'm black. But actually, a lot of the things that you're talking about, I've been through the exact
That is
same
that
thing.
for me. Like you need to look beyond that and say, what values do we share? You know,
Exactly.
what value? And it's weird. I don't know how you feel about this, but growing up where we grew up,
Yeah.
actually colour was less of an issue
It wasn't an
because
issue.
everybody was in the same boat.
And I tell people as well, like, you know, Tower Hamlets is mainly a Bangladeshi area. So there was I never experienced racism as a child. I
Yeah,
never, because
same.
you know, if anything, white people were the minority. Do you know what I mean? They were
Yeah.
they were the few. And so actually we all just got along. We all was just trying. We all just, you know what I mean? Everyone just knew each other. Like you said, it was very much about community. Nobody really had anything. So if somebody had something, they'd share it.
Helped
Do you know
out.
what I mean?
Yeah,
It'd be everyone's. To me growing up, this color thing I didn't realize until I went to Canary Wharf, and we'll get into that. But actually, my experience wasn't that.
But I suppose one of the interesting things, and I want to explore this because I know you do loads of work helping black communities start businesses. What is that gap? Help me, because I've probably not got a good perspective on that. So what is that gap, and what do we need to do to empower people of all colours to get better at managing money?
I think the big thing is knowledge. The big gap is knowledge, and what you have to understand is that, you know, like my parents, for example, they came from Nigeria. When it comes to buying, if you want to buy a house in Nigeria, there's no such thing as a mortgage. You buy the land and then you build and you create your house. You don't go to the bank for a loan. If anything you want to do is that it's a cash based system. So when you come over to the UK and now it's, you know, credit scores, and if nobody spends time to educate you on the new system, you have to learn by mistake. And so what happens in the community is a lot of people learn by mistake. Then remember, we've got a lot of culture differences. So obviously what happens is over time we were very much segregated. So even being Nigerian, there's Yoruba, there's Igbo, there's House, so that they're all segregated, and even in there they're segregated. So what happens is you come over here and you segregate yourself, so you don't communicate, you don't mix with people that even fellow Nigerians, you might not mix with other Nigerians that come from other parts.
Interesting. Yeah.
So what happens is that the knowledge doesn't spread. It's only a few people, and so because of that, you will look for someone like yourself to give you the information, but then those people are not in those positions. And so what happens is that then somebody will say, oh, I think you should do this, and this is how you get scammed and how you make bad mistakes and how you lose money.
Yeah, because you're looking for somebody within that really potentially small community to help you out.
Exactly.
But that, I mean, that is really interesting. And I think, you know, one of the things I'm really grateful for when I think about sort of our story is just living on the edge, as you say, living on the edge of Canary Wharf or living on the edge of London, and having the opportunity to talk to people with different life experiences. I think that's been interesting. The more flippant question is my life experience is that my mum used to bring school dinners home. So for the majority of like between probably about 7 till 12, I used to eat school dinners during the day and school dinners for dinner. Not the best experience culinary wise in the world, to be honest, but what it did do though is I do love a like bread pudding. Give me a bread pudding. You know, those like really stodgy desserts, which now I'm in my 40s, man, does nothing for me because I've got to do an extra 2 hours in the gym to make sure I burn it off. We're going to talk about the charity quite a lot, but I know you've got a book coming out, so tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I wrote a book, and again, it goes back to what we're saying about trying to reach people at their point. So the more I realize that the more, you know, social media, now I do national television and so forth, the more I reach out is one to many. So there's less one to one. And so what I wanted to do was write a book that could allow people to get like the questions that I get all the time, be able to find the answers in this book so that they can get they don't have to be held back because maybe they can't afford to pay for a one-to-one, or they don't work in a company that can afford to pay me to come in and speak, or whatever it may be. It was about making myself available. So the book is called Get Your Money Right, and it's really just about it's teaching people all the way from how the financial system works in the UK. Like I was telling you, my parents came over and no one taught them how the system works, so they had to learn from mistakes. So it starts all the way from how do we get to the system, how does it work, what are the ways to make it work for you, and then goes all the way through to budgeting, investing, like all the way to it ends in philanthropy. So if you make all this money, philanthropy, and that's the real I would say the real hustle, the real boast. If you're really wealthy, buying yachts and cars is not what really your real boast in life. Real boasting is when you can say, listen, I'm going to be a philanthropist. I'm going to give this. And we're seeing it with, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, people who have made all this money and said, I'm not leaving it to my kids. If they can't, the life that I've given them, if that's not enough for them, then my money is wasted on them.
I 100% agree. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think when I look at sort of, and there's a broader conversation about money and happiness, isn't there? And we know that just stuff, might give you a temporary boost, but doesn't make you happy.
Exactly.
Doing stuff for other people is so important. I mean, interestingly, I share in the Kindness Project book. I share the letter that Bill Gates wrote to Warren Buffett about giving away a lot of his money. And if you haven't read it, listeners, it's an amazing read. But I agree. What's the point of the wealth if you're not doing good in the world? I had a client the other day who said to me, and I think he's put it the most succinctly out of anybody I've ever spoken to. I just want to leave the world a bit of a better place when I leave it, as opposed to when I come in. And I think if we all had that attitude, the world would be a better place, wouldn't it?
No, definitely. I think that's the big thing for me. So I want people to understand that, like there's don't get it, like you said, there's a joy in going on nice holidays. There's a joy in driving a nice car and having nice clothes and watches and all of these types of things. But there's a certain level that you realize, and trust me, it's when you make money, when you've been around money, like us, we've made, like, financial advisor. I always tell people, like, when it comes to working in the bank, I don't think there's any better job than a financial advisor. You might make more money doing other jobs like investment manager or fund manager or investment.
I loved it.
But the lifestyle of a financial advisor is just it's unmatched. It's unmatched, especially if you're good and you have real relationships with your clients, and then your clients become friends, and you basically get to have a chat with your mates once a year and get paid for it. It's just mind blowing, and then you can start getting invited to weddings and birthday parties. It's just a different life.
That's it. I mean, it is a privilege doing what we do.
Yeah, definitely.
When I get good at it, man, I'll let you know, so you can tell me what that lifestyle's like as well.
No, you're amazing. I always tell people, I tell people around, like, doing this podcast means a lot to me, because actually, a few years ago, when I was looking for another job, I actually reached out to you and and because you were the only company I saw that was actually doing it in an ethical way, and actually doing it wanting to help people, and not just boasting about the kind of SJP model where it's all about we're the highest net worth, we're the expensive business cards and brochures and all that. Actually, you're just about helping people at a core level and just helping people get to better places and giving out positive, leading with value. I think one of the problems with us, I guess, as financial advisors, is that I don't think we always lead with value. No. We're kind of trying to not say too much because we want to save it all for once you've paid. And actually, there's a value in helping people, even if they never become a client. I 100%. Know that I meet people all the time that stop me and I was the first to buy a house in my family. I've never met them in my life, but they've been watching my videos for the last 3 or 4 years and changed their lives.
Thing. I've never, when clients come to us, and we're really lucky 12 years into a steady flow of clients wanting to join the business, it's all about, we watch something that you, or even, actually it happens less now because most clients get referred from existing clients, but they've done their research and they know that hopefully they've listened to the podcast or done something just to get a flavour. I think our business fundamentally is about trust. I agree that I'm just not into that ego-led,
Exactly.
like big, like big. This is how impressive we are.
Exactly.
I think being human is more impressive. So
It is.
if that loses me clients who are up for that stuff, I'm cool with that, because what I want is people who get the way that we work, and
Exactly.
thankfully there's enough of them for us to continue to do really well. One thing that I just want to highlight, we spoke about a little bit already. Thank you for that compliment as well. That means so much to me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
One thing we've touched on is that sitting in silos, sitting in our little sort of bunch of people we trust, getting the advice from somebody who hasn't particularly sort of trained and worked hard to get level qualification. How do we open those conversations up? And I suppose now with social media and the way we can communicate, it should be easier. How do we open those conversations up and just get better having really open and honest conversations about money?
Yeah, I think we've got to make it, and I think that's one thing that I always get told I do, is make it relatable. I think sometimes we make money seem so far away. You know, we're talking about ISAs and EISs and VCTs and all of and it just blows people's minds. It's just not. They don't come to us for that. Like, not because they don't even know it exists until we tell them. So that's not why your clients come to you. Like that, and so for me, it's really about coming to it on a normal level of actually helping people, helping them understand basic things that are going to help them be better in life, and then giving them the encouragement. I think my job is to empower. People. So one of the things I love is that when someone leaves my office, they feel empowered on their journey. So we don't just talk about money. We talk about their goals and what they want to achieve in life and where they want to be and where they see themselves and the things that are stopping them. And actually then it comes down to, a lot of the time, it comes down to their childhood and things that they've been through, or an experience that's happened in the workplace, or something that's happened to them in their lives. And the reason they're spending money in these ways, or the reason they move in these ways, is actually life experience. And then I have to help them decompact that and actually get them to understand that it's hindering them getting to where they actually want to be. Because you told me where you want to be, you know where you are, and my job is the bit in between, getting you to where you want to be.
But that
me enough to help you.
That financial target isn't what they want. They want a lifestyle that allows them to get there. And as you say, that lifestyle isn't about yachts and Ferraris and all that. It's about, I mean, typically it's about family for a lot of our clients.
Exactly.
It's about helping people. It's about support. So yeah, it's an interesting one. What do you reckon the biggest misconception is when people come and see you?
I think the biggest misconception, I think personally, is that people think they're going to be judged. I think people come to a financial advisor. They don't want to go to a financial advisor. They don't want to come to have this conversation because they don't want to be seen. You see, because what happens is that you can, if you have a nice house, whether you own it or not, no one might know because we don't talk about money. You can have a nice car, you can go on holiday regular, and people think you're living the life. When you come to a financial advisor, I want to see your bank statements. I want to see your assets. I want to see.
It's all laid out, isn't it?
It's there.
It's all laid out.
I want to know how much debt you got. I want to know your credit cards and all. And all of a sudden, people feel like, no, I'm being seen, like I'm naked, basically.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, like, I do TV, and it's so hard to get participants to do TV. Yet there's a show called Naked Attraction where people will be actually naked on the television, and that's been running for about, I think, on like season 15. They do not struggle to get people to be naked on the TV, but we struggle to get people to come on TV and talk about the fact they're not good with the money.
I mean, the challenge you've got is there's a massive stigma around money, isn't there? You know, it's that element, and I think you're right. The starting point is to say, on the podcast, interestingly, over the past probably 6 months, we've had a lot of really interesting conversations about mental health. Yeah. And actually, mental health used to be, talking about the fact that you might be struggling a bit, used to be a bit of a stigma. Yeah. Weirdly, we've got better at doing that. We've got better at having more open and honest conversations about mental health. And it's all a journey, and we seem to be moving in the right direction. Yeah. I think we probably need to make that same journey with money, right? We need to make that same journey and make sure we have more open and honest conversations and put our hands up and go, actually life's not perfect. I want to know how to get there, and how do I achieve it?
Yeah.
So that's part one of the interview. We're going to have part two next week. Let's get to the end of the show, and
Yes.
as always,
Tis the end of another podcast, but the end is never truly the end because the end is always the beginning of something entirely new.
well, it's the beginning of a couple of things, really. Number one, Charlotte,
Uh-huh.
you need to promote your stuff, don't you?
Yes, the website, charlottedames.com. Mug of the week might be back up this week because I brought some mugs from home here. So that's Charlotte's _ mug of the week. I think I've got that right. And that's my stuff.
And if people want to get in touch with us, which we forgot to start the show because we were bowled over by Russell's Italian accent impression, just give that again, Russ.
I don't think I will.
Okay, just give us your Norfolk one.
Mamma mia!
That was okay.
Give us your Chinese one. No, don't do that. So if people need to get in touch with the show, where can they do it?
So you can follow us on Twitter at All the Kindness. On Facebook, it's The Kindness Project. If you want to Google us, it's The Kindness Project Podcast. Email us at ola@thekindnessproject.co.uk. I think that's it. I think that's all of them. I don't know why, but when you said we were doing socials, I thought we were doing our socials, and I was like, what?
Personal ones. You can follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn. You can find me at Chris Dames. I'm all over the show on there. But also, you can find us on Amazon because if you put Chris Dames, The Kindness Project, The Kindness Project book is on there.
Oh, it's available now.
Sorry?
I forgot it was available now.
It's available now. We've got a book launch that we'll put in the show notes. Now, clearly, the book launch is only going to be it's going to be near us. It's going to be in a Horn Church in the middle of February, which you can clearly come to if you're around, and we'll make sure we put details of when that's happening on the show notes.
When is that happening? Is it during the week?
Russ, when's it happening?
It's the 16th of February, Thursday the 16th of February from 6 p.m.
And just to mention, the Kindness Project is available in a wide range of places. So you can get it on Amazon.co.uk. You can download it from for either Kindle or paperback. But there's a lot of people who are stocking it now.
My vital partner, that all profits from the book are going to St. Francis.
100%. Yes, 100% profits we receive from the book will be going to the charity, and we're really proud of that. On that note, that's it for this week. Have a lovely remainder of the week, and we'll see you on the Kindness Project soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.